Hello. Welcome back to the Compendium of Discomfort. My name is, as usual, Michael, and today I don't have anything physical to show you, so we're talking about this, maybe. Yep. It's a new release by Saka. Yeah, you know that a streaming service with excellent taste, and I like this movie quite a lot. Maybe not the greatest, but still very good, I would say. The movie is called A Far Shore from 2022. In the original title is遠いところ, by a director whose name is Masaaki Kudo. And this is just his third film. He made two more. They are unprecedented and I am crazy. Never heard of these movies, so I heard the title before. I haven't watched it. I was curious what this might be, and I think it fits the Saka schedule quite well. It's another depressing drama. They seem to like that stuff. And just to throw in a little bit about the cast, we've got the main actress, Kotone Hanase. I think this was her first movie role. After that, she did some quite big stuff. She was in Suzume and the Parades, and she will be in the live-action version of Kowloon Generic Romance, which seems to get some attention recently. I think the manga was already quite popular. Now is an anime coming and a live-action movie, so she's in that as well. Good. And then we have some people who haven't done all that much, but maybe more in the smaller roles. We've got the more famous actors here again. For example, Izumi Matsuoka, who was in Howl's Moving Castle, or After the Storm's Heard Murder, or The Wonderful Missing. And then we have Taiko Yoshida, who did quite a lot, but stuff that I mostly don't know. But there's a Hiroshi Abe movie that's called Cheers from Heaven. I'm a bit scared by the poster. And actor whose name is just Shogen, who was, for example, in Sukiyaki Western Django and the wonderful Uzumasa Limelight. But he was in a pretty cool movie that I don't know if that will ever be properly released anywhere, is The Rise and Fall of Park Avenue and the 10 Rooms, which I liked a lot. It's another Okinawa movie like the one we're talking about today. So if you're interested in Okinawa and you somehow stumble across this movie, watch it. It's pretty good. I saw it at the Japan Film Fest Hamburg, I think 2 years ago. And it was good stuff. Then we have Shohei Uno, who has small roles in almost every movie. His face is very recognizable, and here he has another small role. And anyone else? Of course, Shinsuke Kato, great actor who was, for example, in Take Cometh or A Man, Onoda, A Small Slow But Steady, and a lot of other good stuff. And that's enough about the cast and the director. Maybe let's read the director's note from the website from Saka first, because it will tell us quite a lot about the movie already. So he says, A Far Shore is a reflection of the reality I witnessed firsthand in Okinawa, where I went to for my research in 2018. Okinawa's poverty rate exceeds 29%, far surpassing the national average. The scars of war still run deep there, and even today, children continue to face the crisis of poverty. Why has it come to this? As I conducted my research, I was confronted with a reality beyond my control. Even though I couldn't solve this issue, I felt compelled to make this film. I wanted to face Aoi, the protagonist, with a pure heart, and I wanted people to see her journey. That was my sole motivation in making this film. I wasn't trying to save anyone or change the world. I simply wanted to pose the question to the audience, how did things end up this way? This may not be an easy film to watch, but I would be truly grateful if you take the time to see it. Yeah, that's what he says, and I think there's a lot of already very important stuff in there that you shouldn't forget. I read some reviews on Letterboxd, and quite some people were like, it's a bit generic, it's a bit predictable in what it does, and I can't really argue with that. I mean, it's one of these movies. Japan has a long tradition of movies about the suffering of women, and this is another one. I would say it's very similar in a sense to last year's A Girl Named Anne, which is a similar joy to watch, and it's focused on one woman who has a really terrible life, and whatever happens, it just keeps getting worse and worse. And a lot of like filmmakers in the past have taken on this topic, like very old masters of Japanese cinema, like Kenji Mizoguchi, Mikio Naruse, or even like Yasujiro Ozu, took on this topic, and quite often in their movies. I haven't seen all that much of those, but that's what they did, and since then it has always been around in Japan, this topic. So, of course, it's nothing new, and I mean, other countries have made similar movies as well. This whole topic is not new at all, and in that sense, you can see some things coming, and I will never understand why that's a bad thing, because that's basically almost every movie. There are hardly any movies who tell you something absolutely uniquely new, and it's why we have stuff like a genre. So I'm not really against this. Of course, I would be happier if I would have seen something more original, but I don't really mind this problem. So sure, some things you feel, that needed to come, and it came, and it happened, and it's more the execution that's interesting here. And of course, we have a good cast, nice performances, nothing to complain. Here we have some very emotional moments. Some worked better, some worked less good. But when the protagonist has one scene where she is pretty destroyed emotionally, and her child comes up to her and just tries to give her some comfort, and the child's like 2 years old. That's quite moving. So there's some good scenes, and I think it's visually very well done and looks very good. It gives you a nice atmosphere. You always have this Okinawa setting with the tourists maybe in the background playing on the beach while suffering is going on. So some people said too that Okinawa as like setting was a bit wasted, but I believe that it's actually the main point of the story. So let's talk a little bit about the story. Like I said, we have a mother and a child. This mother is actually just 17 years old and her child is 15, and she works at a so-called a kyabakuda, I think, kyabakuda. And it's basically, a bar where men go and pay for the ladies who work there to drink with them. So, of course, she's underage. She's not supposed to drink alcohol. She's not supposed to work in a shop like this. And it's all very questionable. And in the first scene, we already have this. Why is this Okinawa setting maybe important? Because the customers who are not from Okinawa, who are tourists, and Okinawa is sadly, as far as I know, quite famous for their, let's say, erotic business. And so some people go there to buy certain services. And here the customers point out, oh, in Tokyo, this thing would never happen. Like 17-year-old girls working in shops like that, and they love it. And later the owner of one of these shops just says, yeah, we need these young staff so they get the money in, because they get more money than older ladies. And so that's already a quite unique point. And I think one thing that we shouldn't forget here, Okinawa is a bunch of islands south of Japan. And the title, like the English far shore, or the Japanese say it's more like a far place, tells you that a better life might wait for you in a very, very far place. You can't just leave. Yeah, if you have, for example, a movie set in Tokyo and you can't handle Tokyo, you can always escape to the countryside. It's not so hard. If you're in the countryside, you can always escape to the big city. It's not so hard. But escaping from Okinawa is a little bit more effort, and you need a little bit more money. You can't just hitchhike your way to wherever you want to go. And I think that that's quite important here, because you would have to buy some kind of airplane ticket or maybe a ship ticket. You have to spend quite a lot of money that the characters might not have, because they're quite poor. And yeah, that's one important point. And near the end of the movie, there's this one line that one guy says. He says, like, this is Okinawa. Everything is connected. And I think that's the important point that keeps the whole movie together and makes, gives this whole suffering a little bit more meaning. And even though it might be predictable, makes it a little bit more dramatic, like this contained space where the people live. Everything has some effect on everything else. Like, you have some suffering and it drags everything that happens down. There's one scene with her father who completely neglects her and got married and has another child somewhere else. And I think if I got that right, her mother is in detention. So they suggest that, mother is probably a foreigner, which is another quite important Okinawa piece. There are quite a lot of foreigners, especially because of the American military base, of course. I was quite surprised that they didn't touch that topic, because if you want any drama in Okinawa, there's always very, very big, horrible trouble with the US military involved. We don't do that here, and it made me quite happy. What was the point? Oh yeah, so that's another factor that plays into this Okinawa thing, I think, a little bit. For example, he's a fisherman, and he gets asked, like, didn't the government give the fisherman some support, like financial support? And his reaction is, yeah, but that doesn't get to us. It gets stuck somewhere, or other people take a good piece of it, so we don't get as much as we're supposed to get. And that leads to him being in financial trouble, which leads to him not being able to support her. So all these things, or like the typical stuff, like she's in a relationship with a guy who abuses her, who gets abused at home. So it's like this continuing just suffering. That's all. Like everything leads to something new and nothing good can happen. And that's goes through the movie, and I think that's pretty well done. And like I said, that's something where you need this confined space, this island or something like that, because if you do that in Tokyo, they could say, okay, I take the night bus to the countryside and I live there, and they're happy to get some young people, and maybe I'm poor, but I have a nicer life. It's much easier there. Or if you're frustrated with the countryside, you can always take the night bus and go the opposite direction. You go to, I don't know, Osaka or Tokyo and give it a try there. And that doesn't really work in Okinawa. And that's why I think this Okinawa setting is maybe more important than it seems. Well, like usually, if you have a setting that could be important for the story, people want this like flair, this atmosphere, and you get it in parts here. You get some very beautiful beach shots and some other scenes. The places that look more like slums, but I think it's a still quite unique city that you see there. So I think it's still fine, but I think people always want this. Oh, the setting is just another character of the story. That's maybe on the surface here not the case, but I think it's probably deeper than many people believe or understand. I don't know how well it works if you don't know anything about Okinawa. I'm far from being an Okinawa expert, but at least I've got maybe a little idea. So maybe if you don't know anything about Okinawa, maybe these things are too much in the background, too under the radar. There's a scene where the governor's efforts to make a nicer Okinawa, a more inclusive Okinawa, that doesn't leave anyone behind. I mean, you still get the message, but I think they even use the real Okinawa's governor's name, and it's probably based on some actual speech that he gave. Like he seems to be very motivated to actually make Okinawa a good place. So I think this is actually quite popular and very much against the military base. But my knowledge ends here about him. Anyway, so I think the setting is more important than many people want or give it credit for. So that's just what I want to say. And I enjoyed that quite a lot. And I think that's what gives this movie a little bit of an extra, besides this, not so original plot that goes on. But as I said, it's beautifully filmed. It's well acted. I liked it quite a lot. So I want to talk a tiny bit with spoilers about the ending, but or with how the story evolves, and some things that I liked or maybe didn't like that much. So if you don't want to know the spoilers, give it a try. It's a really good movie. At least if you're into this kind of poverty, misery stories, some people use a different word here. I wouldn't go as far as that. I don't think it tries to exploit the misery that it shows. I think that's actually, just the wish to show how Okinawa, or at least parts of Okinawa, are. And let's get into the story a little bit more. So we have this young woman who has this not very great job. She has one friend and this abusive boyfriend, the father of the child. And from there on, everything just goes down. Of course, they get in trouble with their job because, no, it's illegal what they're doing. But then that's the irony with this wish to make Okinawa a better place, where we have this announcement or speech by the governor, by making it a better place by, for example, taking underage girls out of these jobs. You actually make their life worse, because then they don't have any other option to actually find good work, or at least well-paid work, besides, selling their bodies. And that's a very, very terrible thing here. Like the well-intended, let's get the girls out of this bad job, drive them into doing a worse job. And I think that was a very clever thing you have in the background, is, let's make this a better place, and by trying this you make it even worse. That's very smart. The other thing, of course, with this abusive partner, that's something that or probably many people don't really understand. Like, why do you stay with a partner who abuses you? She could have avoided a lot of her trouble by just leaving him. But we get this idea like her father doesn't really care about her. Her grandmother tries to help her and can't really, because grandmother can just give her advice, and at some point she says, no, I'm not gonna help you anymore. So everybody basically abandons her. I mean, grandmother comes back, grandmother always comes back, but basically everybody abandoned her. And this boyfriend is basically the only person who really stays with her, even though he does terrible stuff to her. Yeah. So in a way, it's understandable, but it always drives me crazy seeing stuff like that in movies. No. One thing that I thought is pretty good is this, that her friend at some point smokes a joint, and what I liked is that they didn't really go this drug route. Yeah, there's no big drug plot. She doesn't become addicted. So that's something I think is good. So they throw it in there just to say, hey, that's a possibility too, that might happen here, or that's a problem too. But they don't really go that route. But they use the other one, the selling your body route. And that was surprisingly clever set up. Like, pretty much at the beginning, when the girls are at work, her friend gets angry and slaps her customer because he wanted to pay to touch her breasts. And we get established that the protagonist is much less against this, and she's more open to, it's just a little touching, no problem, give me the money. And then she is the one who gets into that kind of business, and she gets the worst possible customers. That's another thing, like the sex tourists, like I mentioned. I think Okinawa is quite famous for that, or it was at least some time ago. So that seems to be a thing, according to my limited knowledge. No, but yeah, so that's the way they go to make everything escalate. Of course, her boyfriend causes a lot of trouble, and just his whole attitude, like, if there's money, you've got to use it. And he's, of course, a heavy drinker, a gambler, he has every bad character trait. And it gets explained where he got it from his father, who treats him like he treats his girlfriend. And that's pretty terrible, but makes sense. It's not the most surprising explanation why he is like that. But yeah, so anyway, it's really hard to watch their relationship, but I felt it's believable enough to get that, to understand why she acts like that. And yeah, until he gets in too much trouble and he's out of the picture. Anyway, so this is like the main issues. It's always money that he uses, and she has to work for. And this work is another big topic. Like, all the men basically say, oh, it's so easy for women because they can just work in shady nightclubs. They can just do this, let's say, erotic work and make easy money. And for men, it's so much harder. Like, her father has the same stuff. For men, it's so hard to find a job and work and stuff. And it's a really disgusting worldview that they have. While it's understandable that they can't really find all that much work. I mean, her boyfriend has a job and just ruins it by his behavior. Like, he ruins everything with his behavior. But yeah, so these are like the main points. There's another like fight between the girls and stuff going on. But yeah, it's very interesting. Like I said, the interesting part is not how the story unfolds or in what problems she gets. That's all very predictable, but I thought this setting actually gives it enough uniqueness to stand out and be interesting. Like I said, the performances are good. It looks really nice, so give it a try. It's worth watching, and at least my experience in Okinawa a long time ago was less horrible. Yeah, if you want to have a bad time, that's a highly recommended movie. Enjoy, maybe? Anyway, thank you. See you. Bye.